let's put the display duplicate. Okay, so basically CABI, it stands for Center for Agriculture and Bioscience International. It's a not-for-profit organization, and its main mission is how to resolve food issues and environment issues via science and communication. It has been established in 1910 by a United Nations treaty and provides scientific expertise in agriculture and environment. It's owned by 48 member countries, and it has 21 locations around the world. As you can see, offices in Africa, Asia, and Europe, and Latin America and America. This is just a glimpse on the countries. You could see again a variety of developed and developing nations. Switzerland,
Brahim, your voice is breaking a little bit.
Oh, sorry. This could be the internet. Is that any better?
It is much better, Brahim.
Okay, it's just the connection. I'm in the same place. Anyway,
Okay.
so our activities are mainly international development and publishing. The international development where we set up plant clinics and plant doctors and help Ministry of Agriculture around the world to train their extension workers and support extension workers who finally will support the farmers. And the other part, which is publishing, and that's what makes CABI different, is it has its own publication, scientific content, and also it has direct contact with the users and farmers on the ground. And we do the liaison between both of them. So our, as you can see, different types of content we have, from e-learning resources to compendium to PRA pest risk analysis tools. Recently we created bioprotection portal, and of course we have the databases and the books and ebooks that can be used at universities for students and teaching and research. So the publishing, you could see books, ebooks, compendium, online resources, over 100 years of research. We publish around 70 new book every year. And we have over 900 books, ebooks format, available on our database. We also have over 500,000 of full text records on our databases and over 13 million records that includes the full text and non-full text. The CABI Academy, which is the new content we provide, which is mainly e-learning, and where we have e-learning, at the moment we call them crop pest diagnostics and crop pest management. They are competency framework, practitioner certification in the end, high quality online resources. We could do webinars and face-to-face courses as well. Those are the courses I mentioned, crop pest diagnosis and crop pest management. CABI Direct, which is mainly journals and grey literature. And this is the subjects that we cover in our databases and journals. Animal sciences, plant sciences, forestry, aquatic sciences, environmental sciences, food sciences, and human sciences and tourism. And every of these subjects, we have sub-subjects. And I'm just going to run quickly via them before I hand over to Dr. Said. So animal sciences, you could see a different variety: animal nutrition, dairy sciences, and so on. Plant sciences, again, plant nutrition, plant production, horticulture crops, and so on. Plant pests. Forestry, aquatic sciences, environmental sciences, you could see biofuel, basic species, etc. Food sciences, food safety, food chemistry, diet studies. Human sciences, tourism, where we say tourism, sustainable tourism, hotel industry. So, and the coverage, geographical coverage of the content, it's again from different parts of the world, but still mainly from Western Europe and North America as the biggest part. However, we are trying to add more content from other parts of the world, and we have to be very selective in putting good academic peer-reviewed content. I would like to thank you for your attention. Please, if you have questions, don't hesitate to put it in the chat box. And now I'll hand it to Dr. Said to present an exciting phase 2 or part 2 of our navigation on how to publish.
Thank you so much, Brahim, for the very nice and brief overview of CABI. Today, we're going to continue our journey of navigating international publication. If you have been with us last time, we had the first session in which we discussed the motivations for publication, how to select research questions that fulfill the requirements for international publication, and when and how to select the journal in which you're going to publish your research. Today is the second session. It's going to be an in-depth discussion of how to write the manuscript. We're going to take it as deep as we can, as far as we can. We're going to break the manuscript down into its components, and we're going to look very closely at each of those components and see how we best write it to make sure that our manuscript is going to be perceived as a well-written manuscript when it make it to the editor and the reviewers. Our last session, which is going to be next week, it's going to be focusing on the post-submission process, which is post-writing process, which is the submission, the peer review. We're going to talk about peer review in details, types of peer review, stages of peer review, different decisions of peer review, and how to navigate each one of those. And also what happens post-publication. What can we do to increase the visibility of our research and to make sure that we're going to fulfill the and the motivations that we initially started with. So today, awesome. Brahim already covered that material. I'm sorry for that. Now that we discussed about the motivations, the research part, and then the journal selection, it's time to talk about writing in details. What makes a well-written manuscript? That's a very important question that we need to have an answer for. Because if we don't know what the expectations are, most likely we're not going to be able to meet those expectations. So let's see what are the criteria that we need to meet or our manuscript will need to meet to be perceived as a well-written manuscript. First, it should adhere to the journal's guidelines. Because journals put their guidelines for authors to abide with, and the intention for those guidelines is to create a standard environment where everyone can see things the way they are supposed to be seen. So we need to work on that. And to follow and respect the journal's guidelines. The journal guidelines provides us with some key information that we need to know while writing the manuscript. The first of which is the length of the manuscript, and actually the journals usually give us some clear idea about not only the length of the entire manuscript, but also the expected length of the title, the abstract, and for sure besides the whole manuscript. So it doesn't make sense for you to write like 10 pages and then at the submission you realize that the maximum number of pages allowed is like 6 pages. Then that means you wasted your time writing 4 extra pages, and then you're gonna waste some more time trying to make that manuscript shorter, which is gonna be an extra work that you don't have to do. Had you reviewed the guidelines of the journal in the first place. The other thing too that we learned from the journal's guidelines is the structure of the manuscript. What are the sections there, and how are they organized? Some journals combine the results and discussion together. Some journals don't. And it's good to know what exactly you are expected to write instead of writing them separately and then having to merge them later, or maybe separating them and then having and then you find yourself have to combine them later. Also, some journals put the sections in different order, and we're going to come into that later. So it's good to know what sections you are expected to write and what is exactly their organization. Also, the journals provide some clear idea about the text and the references, how they are written in terms of style, how the titles are written, how the subtitles are written, and the text font and size. And also some journals might provide a template for writing the manuscript. And in this case, they save you a lot of time because they give you everything ready. You just need to replace the text they put there with your own. In this case, it's very, very recommended that you use their template instead of just trying to make your own. And the last point is by knowing the guidelines of the journal, you get a clear idea about the terminology that you should be using while writing your manuscript. Because if the journal is intended for general readers or maybe interdisciplinary readers, then deep technical terminology is not going to be suitable. And vice versa. If the journal is very specific, the layman language is not going to work. Where to know that? You go back to the journal's guidelines and to see who are their intended readers, and trying to match the terminology level expected for such group of readers. If you would like to use an example, here is the CABI Agriculture and Bioscience Journal. It's an open access journal that CABI launched last year. It's open access, double-blinded peer review. The publication speed is significantly high because it's backed by CABI. It has a global focus. It's one of the very good new journals that you might want to check out. And in this journal's webpage, you see here submission guidelines. And if you click that, you will get some details idea about the expectations of the manuscript, how it should look like from every aspect and from every angle. So you could use that as an example and maybe tour the guidelines of the CABI Agriculture and Bioscience if you would like. I'm not gonna do the live demo just for the sake of time. And also, if you're not interested in submitting to that journal, probably you could use the journal that you actually are writing for and intended to apply. Intended to submit your manuscript for publication in. So after knowing that we need to adhere to the journal's guidelines, let's talk about the manuscript one piece at a time and see how exactly each of those individual pieces should look like to be considered as a well-written piece of a well-written manuscript. So generally, the general structure for a manuscript is starting with a title, an abstract, an introduction, the methodology, materials and methods section, or the methodology section, and then the results and discussion. And in some cases, these two are combined together in results and discussion section. And then eventually the references. And for most journals, there are some small sections here, like for acknowledgements, for declaration of conflict of interest, and maybe author's contribution. And these are, they differ from one journal to another. But these are the main sections that are typically encountered in scientific manuscripts. And it's worth mentioning here that there are two orders of these sections. The first order, which is up here, is how they appear in the manuscript when you submit it to the journal. So you see them in this order here. But actually, when you write them, you don't write them in this order. You write them in a different order. So while you're reading and learning about new research in your field, sometimes you encounter a very good knowledge gap that you are capable of tackling and approaching. And then you take notes for yourself. Say, okay, here is the knowledge gap. And I found it based upon this reference. These kind of notes, you put those in the introduction. And then you say, okay, if I need to approach this knowledge gap, what do I need to do? And then you put like some preliminary objectives, and then you start to conduct your experiments. So you start with the introduction, some very few sentences there with some references. You move to the conducting the experiments, and while you conduct the experiments, you write the material section so you don't forget what you did. And definitely, besides taking notes in your lab notes. And while you are still conducting experiments, you start analyzing the parameters that you have finished. Means that you're on to the results. But after finishing the material and method, you should be able to finish the results section very soon after. And while you're writing the results section, and when you see some interesting results that probably you need to discuss in your discussion section, you might start taking notes and writing them here to remind yourself in the discussion section about things that you think you should be discussing. After finishing material and methods, you finalize the results, and then you finalize the discussion section, and then you move back to introduction to finalize it, to make sure that you actually have introduced your topic appropriately. After that, you write the abstract, copy and paste from the entire manuscript, and then you decide about the title. And definitely, while you're writing the manuscript at all stages, you insert let's say references to the body of the manuscript, and at the same time you add those references to the list of references. That's why we say references is an open topic. It's something that you start even with before you decide on the manuscript. It's lastly finalized, making sure that it actually reflects whatever is being cited inside the body of the manuscript. So now that we know that there are two different orders for sections, what we're going to follow here in this workshop is the order in which the manuscript is being submitted to the journal, which is the one up here. So each of these sections are intended to be a very good attraction piece of information that convince people in reading the manuscript instead of deterring people away from your manuscript after being published. So you need a title that brings people attention and directs it towards reading the entire manuscript. And here we're gonna discuss some ideas of how to make that magical step happen. First, if you want to write an attractive title that makes people want to read the rest of the paper, it should be an informative title. It should tells us or tells the readers about the main finding of the study, and it should show how it is novel and very new, area of research, or a very new angle of looking at the topic. And then, like every single piece of the manuscript, it should adhere to the journal's guidelines. So let's do some exercise here. We have 3 titles. I would like from all of you, please, read all these 3 titles, and then give me the number of the best title from your point of view that matches these criteria, and please share that number with me in the chat section. Let's take like 30 seconds, starting from now. Thank you, Jed. Thank you, Zahra. Thank you, Ruwa. Anyone else? Only 3 that participated? We need more. Okay, how about the rest of us? We are 35. I have only like maybe 4 out of 35. We need more. Just give me your best guess. You don't have to provide me with the perfect answer. Just decide on the best guess and shoot it there. Just like that. Simple and easy. Don't think twice. Okay, great. Nice. So I see that 3 is getting more votes comparing to 2 and 1. I think it's, if we rank them, it's 3, 1, then 2. Let's talk about that very quickly. If you look at the first title, it's Effect of Chromosome Deletion on Ozone Tolerance in Wheat. So we know that the crop is wheat. The phenomenon that we are studying is ozone tolerance. And the treatment that we are looking at is the chromosome deletion. But which chromosome? Deletion of which chromosome of wheat? We don't know, right? How do we measure ozone tolerance? We don't know. Okay, so yes, we have 3 pieces of information, but actually probably you might want to add more. Let's look at the second one. It's deletion of chromosome 7A. Okay, now we have 1 additional piece of information. It's chromosome 7A, not any other chromosome. The increased ozone tolerance. So we don't only know that we are looking at the effect here. No, here we're characterizing the effect. We're showing the direction of the effect. So now we know it's increasing ozone tolerance. So now we know the qualification. We are qualifying the effect, which is great. Ozone tolerance in wheat. Okay, what is the parameter? We don't know. So probably you might be able to add more. So deletion of chromosome 7A, increased ozone tolerance, that's exactly the previous title. 2 ozone visible symptoms. So now we know which chromosome and what is the direction of the effect on what parameter or on what phenomenon using what parameter. So if you're looking at the most informative title, probably it's going to be number 3. So when would it be 2 or 1 that you should use? You should use 1 or 2 if the number of characters the journal allows for the title is less than number 3. So this is definitely shorter, and this is the shortest. So you try to fit as much information into the title, assuming that it will fall within the title length limit that the journal approves. So for me, I would go with number 3, unless it is too long for the journal's guidelines. With that, you should have some very attractive title that attracts people to read the abstract. But also, we want the abstract to convince people to read the rest of the manuscript. Before we move into this, why it is important for the title to be that informative? Some people, when they search the databases, they just read the titles and then they decide whether to click on that title to open the record abstract page or not. So if your title is attractive enough, that means they're gonna click it, they're gonna read it, you're gonna get cited. If not, then you lose those. And even if they don't click it, you still want those people who just read the title to remember that, okay, there were someone who looked at the effect of chromosome deletion and identified a certain chromosome. I don't remember what chromosome was it, but I remember that he stated it there. And he looked at the effect on ozone tolerance using symptoms, maybe. So they will, they will retain some of those information. They're not gonna have the details, but they will know that, yes, you named the chromosome, you qualified the effect, and you mentioned the parameter, especially if they are interested in something similar but in other crops or something like that. That's why you don't want to lose those. They might go back and say, yes, I remember. There has been a paper that I came across. It's titled that looked at something like that. That's exactly what you want to do. After doing so, probably you want to have the same concept applied to the abstract section. You want to have a well-written abstract. So what makes a well-written abstract? A well-written abstract is an abstract that was written at the right stage of writing, which is when? If you go back to that timeline, it should be the last section to be written, the last main section, I should say, to be written, right? Because it should come after we write the introduction, material method, results, and discussion. Why? Because if you do so, you will enjoy practicing the art of copy and paste, and for one time do the right thing the easiest way. So without having to spend too much time and energy, you can make the best abstract ever, as Cristobal taught us in one of the writing workshops. And how do we do so? After finishing these sections, we just go through them, read the manuscript again, and then highlight the key sentences that best describe the manuscript, and then combine those and group them in the abstract, and then try to connect them to make the manuscript more. To make the abstract more readable. And why do we recommend so? One of the key problems with manuscripts is when you find a conflict between what is claimed in the abstract and what the body of the manuscript actually say. And by just copying and pasting from the body of the manuscript, you make sure that there is no room for such conflict to take place, because it's just, you're just copying from the body of the manuscript. What you need to do though is you want to make sure that your manuscript is precise and concise image of the manuscript by making sure that it answers 5 key questions. Why you conduct this, why you have conducted this study, which is the rationale behind it, what exactly is new about it, which is the novelty of the study, how you conducted the experiments, which is the material and methods, what results you were able to come up with from these experiments, and then so what? What is the broad picture and the big picture of the implications of this research in terms of or in context with the entire area of research. So if you don't have all these 5 there, your abstract is missing a key component. So here's our second exercise. Let's take a look and read this abstract and try to see how many points out of 5 we will be able to get with a manuscript like this. I'm sorry, with an abstract like this. So I'll give you guys, let's say, 1.5 minutes, and then I'll ask for your grades. I know it's a short time, but this is intended, and we will know why in a minute. In 1.5 minutes, let's say. Okay, 1.5 minutes starting now. I have a question. What do you want us to do? I want you guys kindly to read this abstract and to look for these 5 components there to see if it tells you why the study has been conducted, what is the novelty, how the study was conducted, what are the results that have been found, and what are the big implications of those results for the entire area of research. Thanks so much for the question. 30 more seconds just to accommodate for the question. Please share the number out of 5. So the maximum is 5. Please share your grades with me whenever they are available. Thank you, Zahra. Okay, 2 votes. Okay. 3 votes. 4. We need more. Time's up. We need more. We need more. Okay. Okay. Who else? Who else? We're 35 or 34. More numbers just to see how Okay, got it, got it. You guys mostly give it 5 out of 5. Okay, I totally agree with you. Let's take a look at it. First, before we look at it, why why did I ask you guys to read that in a very limited period of time? Because that's exactly what happens with the editor. They read the title of the manuscript, they read the abstract, and then they skim through the results to see how they look like, how actually you have presented your results. And these three pieces mainly are the ones that will guide the editor's decision, or at least the quick decision about your manuscript. These are the things that paint that first impression that the editor will have about your manuscript. These jobs are voluntarily, so they're not paid, and usually people devote some time for them, and within that limited time in their weekly schedule, they need to decide on all the manuscripts submitted to the journal they are the editor for. That's why I asked you guys to read it very quickly, and I apologize if that was pressing you, if I was pressing you with this, but I tried to give you the same experience that will be happening when people are reading your abstract. I agree with you. I give it 5. I give it 5 too. And here they are color coded. So the green on the top is why. So here we say that wheat is a global food security crop. So this is something very general. However, it's the most sensitive major crop to ozone air pollution. Well, that's very interesting. However, breeding ozone tolerant varieties is yet to be investigated. So it's very key crop. It has a major problem, and this major problem has not been solved yet. So it's the knowledge gap. So here you know why people would be conducting this study. And then what is the novelty of the study? Well, this is the first report. This reports on the first breeding scheme for developing ozone-tolerant wheat varieties. So now we know why it is novel. It's the first breeding scheme ever in tackling that major problem. How are we going to do it? Okay, we're going to use speed breeding approach, recombinant inbred lines. We're going to use tolerant varieties, cross those with elite varieties, and develop recombinant inbred lines, and then screen those and select the ozone tolerant ones. So now we know the procedure briefly, but in details. Then the results that we have obtained that show that the rails are different in terms of visible symptoms, biomass, and all these details. And then the yield superiority was used to select these the best recombinant inbred lines. So here you have a brief idea about the results, and then here is the future of the research, and then where exactly it falls within the big picture of this area of research. Further studies are needed to make sure that these recombinant inbred lines, not only they are tolerant to ozone, but also they are resistant to other main diseases to make it to the field. And then by doing so, that means this might help in increasing wheat yield, consequently securing more food globally, which is exactly the rationale that we started with at the beginning. So with this, I give it 5 out of 5, just like you guys. I have another question. How many words do you think this abstract is? And please share numbers, and you don't have to be very accurate. Just give me your best guess in the chat section. How many words? Thank you, Veronica, 200. Who else? Just your best guess. You don't have to be very accurate. Don't count. Don't count them. Don't even try to count them. Just give me your impression. What do you feel? Just your feeling. Just shoot me the numbers there. Yes, it is one paragraph, but how many words? Okay, 200, 400, 300 words, 180. Oh, great. Surprisingly, this abstract is like 143 words. 143 words. So it is even less than the minimum number you guys have mentioned, which indicates that you guys had the impression that this abstract is providing a lot of information, and it must have been using a lot of words. But actually, when you know what exactly you are expecting to say in the abstract, you can answer these 5 questions very briefly and very easily, and you can deliver a lot of information without having to use a lot of words. Typically, the maximum number of words for an abstract is somewhere between 150, let's say, to 250. You could get something like 120, but it's rare, and you might see something like 300, 350, but is also rare. So here we didn't make it even to the 150, which means that, you know, you can say a lot if you know what you are exactly expected to say. Exactly, Ahlan. So I hope by applying these advices, you will be able to write even better abstracts than this one. Thank you for sharing your comments. With this title and with this kind of title and with this kind of abstract, you have a very good chance of convincing people to read the introduction. Sorry, to read the introduction of your manuscript. And you're gonna try hard to convince people to continue reading. So you don't want them to go away. You want them to continue reading your manuscript. What can you do to write a well-written introduction? Let's have an idea about what are the criteria of a well-written introduction. It should be a logical introduction. There should be a logic there between paragraphs, and the order of the paragraphs and the order of the ideas of the paragraphs. It shouldn't be too long, and it shouldn't also be too short. So you want it to be be reasonably sized. For example, if you are introducing some simple ideas, you shouldn't write like 3 pages there. And if you are looking at like second order interactions where you have like 3 things that are interacting with each other, probably like 2 or 3 paragraphs or 5 paragraphs might not be enough. So it should be somewhere between, and it should be reasonable with the complexity of the study that you are introducing. Additionally, it should be fair. It should provide and give credit to all the previous work that is relevant to your research. Which means that if there is something that is very close to my study, that means you should cover it in the introduction. You don't want the reviewers to see that a reference to that paper in the discussion without having any introduction to it at all in the introduction section. That's not right. They're not gonna feel good about it. So if there is something that is close to your study, then you should discuss it. You should introduce it, and you should introduce it fairly in the introduction. Well, it's easier been said than done, right? How are we going to do so? How are we going to apply these ideas? Well, to write a well-written introduction, you should provide efficient background. And what do we mean by that? We should provide a brief introduction to the topic, which places the study in the broad context of the area of research. We should highlight its importance and novelty, And we should also define the purpose of and the aim of the study in that very first paragraph. You don't want the reader to go for too long without knowing why exactly this topic is important, what exactly you are proposing in your study. So that's a paragraph. Then you provide some careful review of the current state or status of the research point. You cite and credit the relevant publication, and then you highlight any, let's say, knowledge gaps or diverging hypotheses when necessary, with the focus on showing why you or someone else should be doing this kind of research to approach this knowledge gap. This could be somewhere between 3 paragraphs to somewhere higher than that, depending on the topic and the complexity of the topic. Let's say 3 to 5, maybe 3 to 7, maybe. You decide about that, but don't make it 3 to 15. No, it shouldn't be that long. Okay, so it should be somewhere there, somewhere between 3, let's say, and 7, 8, 9. I don't know. Maybe it's too much. Let's say 3, 5. I would say. But the final word is yours. It's your manuscript, and eventually you want to guide the readers to believe that the objectives that you will be conducting in this study are justified. It is an important topic. There is a knowledge gap, but there is a way of approaching this knowledge gap. That's what you're trying to say here in the middle. And here is how you actually is gonna approach this knowledge gap in details with very clear and specific objectives. And the objectives should be in 1 paragraph. And also finish that with what exactly these objectives are going to lead to, which is the main or the principal conclusions that could be drawn or that have been drawn from your study. With this, I promise you, you're going to have a very good introduction. And one of the best advices I've ever heard about how to do that and how to write the introduction, I received from Professor Schwanholm at Virginia Tech. He told me that, you know what, Said, if you wanna write a good introduction, then write the key sentences first, like 4, 5, 6 sentences that will tell you this entire story, okay? So you write those 4, 5, 6 sentences, you shuffle them until they make a very good idea or a very good story about the manuscript. And then after shuffling them and making sure they are logical and the ideas flow themselves, then and you start from general points, moving down towards the very specific points, which is your objectives. And then after deciding on this structure, you will need to come back later and then expand each of those sentences into a full paragraph by adding more information supported by references. That's why when we were talking about writing the manuscript, we said we're going to write the introduction first, which is those 5, 6 sentences, and we said we're going to come back later and expand it. So that's exactly how you do so. And if you take a look here, the structure of the manuscript is expected to be like 2 facing triangles, where you start very general at the beginning of the introduction, and you move to be very specific towards the end of the introduction with your objectives. Then you move to your specific materials and method, which is very specific, very lab specific. It's exactly what you personally have done in your lab. And then you end up moving to the other side, which is the results, which is the exact results that you were able to achieve. And then moving into the discussion from these specifics, discussing your specific results, comparing it to the literature and what we know about the topic, and then try to put this in the broad perspective on the research field. So if you do so, that will match perfectly with the expected structure of a well-written manuscript. With that, you must have a very well-written manuscript, a very well-written abstract, a very well-written introduction. I promise you people are going to be interested in reading the methodology section. That you also want to be in harmony with all the great work that you have done so far, and that will be convincing for readers to continue reading. What makes a well-written material and method? It should be well organized. And by well organized, we mean that it should match the objectives, the organization of the objectives. That's why it is very important when you write the objectives, you write them in a logical order. Okay, I want to transfer ozone tolerance from winter wheat to spring wheat. That means I need to decide first on what winter wheat to use. That means I need to screen winter wheat first to decide which one of them is the best. That should be the first objective. Then I need to filter them down and select based on some certain criteria. That's the second objective. Then take that one and cross it with the locally adapted spring wheat. That should be the third objective. Now, I should decide on the spring wheat first. That means deciding on the spring wheat should be the third, and then making the crosses should be the fourth. So there should be logic there in the objectives. And then that logic should be repeated in the objectives, in the structure of material and methods, and then in the results, and then in the discussion. That will create a story which brings the importance of storytelling in science. So by doing so, the more the reader is gonna read of your manuscript, the more they're gonna have in their mind what exactly is gonna be coming next. So they will be with you online. They will be in line with you. They understand the logic. They will not get lost. They will follow that storyline with you. It should be effective. The introduction should be effective, which means it should provide, the material and method should be effective, which means it should provide enough details for you or for others to replicate the study. But it shouldn't add too much details if they're not needed. For example, if you're using a published methodology, you don't have to explain it in details. But if you are using a modified method that you personally modified, then we go back to those ideas about how to reflect your criteria of selecting the methodology, why you propose to modify it, and all this stuff. So cite the known methods, don't write them in details, and make sure you write details of what you are doing new that people are not aware of, and also if you can verify your methodology, that would be great. If you, while you're writing the material and method section, if you yourself needed to draw like a concept chart or a flow chart that helped you to write it appropriately, that means probably this is something that you should include in your manuscript. You should polish it, make it look good, and then add it to the manuscript. Because when people understand your manuscript, they will be able to support it. They will be able to say, yes, this is a very good piece of work. They're not going to be able to say that if they don't understand it. So any concept or flow charts, any schemes, any figures, if you are developing a new experimental unit or a new device or a new parameter that has to be explained with figures, please use those, polish them and add them. That will be really appreciated by everyone. So if you remember from last session, we were talking about how to choose the research methodology or parameters. Here is your chance of writing that down, if you don't tell the readers why you choose the methodology, they will not know it. So here is your chance to put all these criteria that we talked about last time about how to choose the material and method, the methodology or the parameters. Here is your chance of putting that in writing. Make sure you write that. If you are using an established methodology, then just cite it and say why you choose it. That's it. If you are using a modified methodology, try to give the readers an idea why you have chosen this method. What is the downside of it that encouraged you to modify it? And what is the exact modification that you have applied? And how does the new methodology look like comparing to the previous one? So if you can do something like a verification in comparing the modified methodology to the initial one, that will be really, really appreciated. And if you're using a brand new parameter or methodology, then you need to show that you have correctly proposed it, you described it appropriately, and then you appropriately verified it. So here is your chance of putting that in writing. Again, the Declaration on Research Assessment has a very key advice to us here as authors. We should cite and give credit to the initial research, the primary research, rather than giving that to reviews that just mentioned the initial study. But what happens if I find a review paper that provided some very criticisms to a methodology, and I used those criticisms to modify the method? It's okay. You can cite the review article in this case, but you have also to cite the initial primary research literature, because with that you encourage people to conduct primary literature, and you don't give credit to review papers that just mentioned it. Okay, so that will be fair for everyone. You can cite them both if you want to, but don't cite only the review article and forget about the primary research or study. With that, I'm sure your methodology is going to look great, just like the previous sections. Now it's your chance to make your results shine too. And how can we do so? First, it should be well organized. And again, now we know what the organization should be, right? It should be matching the objective, the structure of the objectives and the material and methods, which is the same logical organization that you adapted across the entire manuscript. It should be effective, meaning that you should provide enough details, but not too much details. You don't have to comment on every single number in your study. Alternatively, you should be focusing on the interesting results that you have seen. If there is something that is just in consensus with the previously published literature, then it's okay. You can just say, okay, these results are in there is nothing new in these parameters. let's say. You don't have you can group them, I mean, in one sentence. You don't have to split them down. You don't have to split them down. You want people to see the bright side of your study. So don't waste their time looking at the regular side of your study. Let them see the bright side and let them focus on the bright side. The regular things are there for them to look at if they want to, but I believe they will be more interested on what's new and what's is really interesting finding of your study. So it should be enough. Enough means that, let's say, a paragraph, a figure, maybe a maximum of 2 paragraphs, a figure, but that shouldn't be the average. The average should be 1 or a little above 1. And it also should be well visualized, which means that you should use high power figures and high resolution figures. And here I am using a very good example that Cristobal provided in one of his sessions. This is the original data, and as you could see, it's a huge amount of information, and also it's very small. You cannot see a lot of details there. So if you use this, you lose details because it's low resolution, and you lose insight because it's low power in terms of delivering information. What actually you need to do, or you might want to do, is to try to express this in a way that makes people see it and understand it exactly as you do as an expert in this area, which means that you should transform this from a low power figure into a high power figure by providing this very high power analysis of these information. Now you know where exactly the peak is. That's what the experts see here. And here you're putting it for everyone else to see, to have that expert's view of the data. Besides, this has significant higher resolution. So now you're bringing both the high power and the high resolution into your results. If you do so, focusing on only what deserves people's attention, presenting enough details, not too much details. If you have something that is distracting, then move it to the appendix or the supplementary file. Keep only the key information that is important for convincing people and supporting your conclusions. Anything else that you would see as a distraction, move it to the appendix section or maybe to a supplementary file, and just keep showing the bright side of your manuscript. By doing so, actually, you have done a very good job so far. That takes you to the last key section, which is the discussion. And actually, this is your chance to show how deep your understanding of your area of research and of your field is. And here, again, it needs to be in harmony with the entire structure of the manuscript. It should start specific and move to the broad context. Again, it should be well organized. And if you start from specific to general, trying to be as much as you can in harmony with the order of your objectives, which is the same order of your material and methods, which is the same order of your results, then people are gonna feel the harmony in reading your manuscript. It should be effective, which means that discuss only what needs to be discussed. When we talked about results, we said you don't have to comment on every single number. And here you don't even have to discuss every single result that you have mentioned in the results section. So if you were selective in the discussion in the results section, you have to be even more selective here. You have to be even more selective here. That will make your discussion more deep, more insightful, by removing things that are known to everyone and focusing only on the interesting findings, and spending more time on discussing those, explaining them, putting them in context within the entire field. That will be in the interest of everyone. Okay. It should be fair. It should be fair, which means that you shouldn't make conclusions or come up with recommendations that outside of what the data and the results are suggesting. So every statement you put here should be result based. Don't extrapolate. Don't extrapolate. Don't overreach. Don't overreach. Don't be too general. Be very specific here and try to be realistic. Give credits to others. If someone was able to reach the same conclusions, just show that and show why you both came into the same conclusion despite of you both doing two different studies. Or if someone used the same methodology as you but provided some different conclusions, it's your chance to discuss why. So these are the kind of things that you want to cover there. And let me say them again. Try to focus on previous studies that probably use different methodology but ended up with the same conclusions, and try to explain that. Or maybe the previous studies that use the same methodology and end up with different conclusions, and try to explain how. What is your explanation of that? And don't shy from studies that are showing different explanations, different conclusions. It's your chance to discuss them. You don't make results. You don't make them. That's science. That's how the results are. And as my advisor used to tell me, it is what it is. You know, the result is what it is. You just discuss it. And then don't shy from discussing the limitations of your research. You're the best one who knows what the limitations are, and you should be honest about that, because people are going to use your study to do further research. And if you don't tell them all the limitations, you might be misleading them. You might encourage them to use their resources and their time in the wrong direction. So try to be as fair as you can. Do not overstate the limitations of your study. Just show them, and if there is a justification for them, please provide them. For example, if there are two methods to measure some response, and you used the old methodology because the instrument that you could use with the in the advanced methodology was not working properly, then you say, okay, although this is not the best way, however, we had to use this method because this instrument was in maintenance. However, these are the positive sides of this parameter, and these are the downsides. So try to explain why you had to run the study with these limitations. That makes people appreciate more the effort that you put there, And also don't overstate the limitations, because if you do so, they will think there is even more limitation than what you have mentioned there. So with these points, I think you will be writing a very good discussion section. Finish with the context and the future research. Try to put the findings and the discussions that you have here in the broad context of the field. Try to provide some ideas about the future research. And here we should be strategic. Strategic meaning that if you are gonna conduct an experiment to follow up on this one, you can just state that briefly. Don't tell people the details, especially if it is something that is evolving very quickly. Be strategic on what to say, what not to say. If you're not gonna follow up on this study at all, then put here as much information as you want about the future research. But if you're actually doing a follow-up experiment now while you are trying to publish this research, and that follow-up study doesn't take too long, then probably you shouldn't put all the details about it. To make sure that you're not burning you're not burning your boats by allowing others to do that follow-up study quicker than you personally can. So try to find the balance between being fair in pointing or directing people towards the future, the logical future research, and at the same time being fair with yourself by not offering your ideas about studies that you're currently conducting and allowing others to finish it and publish it before you. This a sweet spot between these two extreme cases that you are the best one to decide on. With this should be a very good discussion section. As we said before, there should be some very diverse group of subsections that go here, and the references. Acknowledgement for people who provided material, provided some input that doesn't rise to the level of authorship. Someone who provided you with seeds, someone with whom you had a very good discussion about the topic, someone who briefly reviewed the first draft of the manuscript, technicians in the lab, undergraduate students who supported you in collecting data or stuff like that. So all these things that you need to acknowledge. Also, the funding agencies acknowledgement too. Some journals require something like author's contribution in details. It also comes here in this place. Declaration of conflict of interest. For example, if you're testing a product from a company and your research is funded by that company, you should state that clearly here. And people will have to decide for themselves whether to trust your conclusions, knowing that you have received money from that company or not. That should be here. That should be stated here just to protect yourself in the future from being accused of being biased. And also sometimes you get some appendix where you can find some data that is going to be distractive if it is placed here. Some people place these distractive data in the appendix. Some people move it to a supplementary file where it is not even part of that manuscript published file at all. It's going to be in a separate file. So all these things come here in between the discussion and the references. And eventually, you should write the references professionally, just like what you have done with all the previous sections. And by saying write the manuscript, write the references professionally, we actually mean that you should be very good in selecting the group of references that you elect to cite. They should be relevant, so you shouldn't cite any irrelevant reference just to do favor to your colleague who needs some citation to maybe reach a certain each index or something like that. You should be fair, and you should just cite the relevant ones. You should include up-to-date references too. So from the very old to the very up-to-date relevant references should be cited, assuming that they are relevant. So the key selection criteria is the relevance. And when you discuss the references, you should be fair. You should discuss them fairly. Give them credit for what they deserve, and also show their weaknesses too, because that's what the discussion is made for. In terms of the number of the references, you should follow the guidelines of the journal. Some journals have certain numbers for you to abide with. So you should follow those numbers. If they are providing a maximum of 70 references, you should be very selective to select the most relevant 70. If they have 150, you should be selective to include the most relevant 150, and so on. And they should be sufficient, meaning that you shouldn't use too few references in such a way that people cannot get a good idea about this area of research. And also you shouldn't add too much references in such a way that you run into issues with irrelevant references. And also you should pay close attention to the references style, which is supposed to be what is stated clearly in the guidelines of the journal. So again, here you see the guidelines many times. So when you cite, you should follow the guidelines, and also you should use a reference manager or referencing software. And this is a very key advice, because this is something that is expected now, especially with many of the reference managers and referencing software being available for free. So you have no excuse. You're not going to pay any money. All what you need to do is just spend a couple of hours to learn how to use Mendeley, or how to use EndNote, or how to use RefWorks, or Zotero, or whatever you decide to use as a referencing software. Because if you don't do that, if you don't do so, you're going to send a very bad signal to the editor that you are still an old-fashioned person who is spending too much time writing things manually, making so many mistakes because that person is lazy to spend 2 hours or so to learn about something that will allow him to finish the referencing quicker, easier, more efficient, with no or minimum errors, if there are any errors at all. So these software, referencing software are available. Some of them are free, some of them are not. So it's your call, it's your choice which one to use. They are all the same in terms of what they do, and actually even the interface might have some similar components. So I've used 3-4 of these, and they all the same, in such a way that once you use one of them, you can even switch to the other one or to the third one very easily and very quickly, in such a way that I personally switch between them depending on what is more convenient to the co-authors with me on the manuscript, and you can do so too. But never ever write the references manually. It's not good. It's not good for you. It's not good for you in terms of time, efficiency. It's not good for you for quality, and it sends a bad signal about you as an author to the editor and to the reviewers. With that, probably we have talked about all the ideas that I might have had in mind, and I wanted to share with you about writing the manuscript. Next time, we're gonna carry on with the submission, how to submit your manuscript, how to navigate the peer review, what is the peer review, what is the good and right concept of peer review, different types of peer review, different stages of peer review, different scenarios in peer review, different decisions that you receive from editors, why you receive them, what to do about them, and we're gonna use so many case studies that I was fortunate to be involved in and in the peer review process, and I'll try to pass you guys those experiences. And I'll also add to them all the experiences that I was fortunate to have by participating in many peer review workshops in different countries and different continents, and some of them were led by up to like 7, 8 editor-in-chiefs of journals of different publishing agencies. So if you decide to be with us next session, I promise you're not. I promise you're gonna like it. I promise you're gonna like it. And then we will finish with delivering impact and how to maximize the impact of your manuscript and how you bring your motivations home and make sure that you fulfill all the motivations that encourage you to navigate this journey in the first place. With that, I will be more than happy to answer very few questions very quickly, because I have seen some of the questions you have while presenting, and I liked some of those questions, and I would like to cover them very quickly, if I may, Brahim.
Sure, Said, you can do that. Is it possible just for quickly me to show them how to use the CAB platform?
It's your
you could take yeah, and you take note of the whatever questions, and then you could use the micro again and answer all what they want.
That sounds like a very good idea. I'll go over them in details and then summarize them, and then maybe respond to them after you kindly provide us with the demo.
Excellent. In the meantime, can you? We have about 37 people here. Can you please write your name as you want it to be in the certificate? People are asking for this training or this workshop certificate. So please write your full name, your email, and your institution in the chat section. In the chat section. In the chat. So put your name together. Don't put your name and another message with your email and another message with the institution. So please write them together. Your full name, your institution, your email address.
And that is addressed to the participants, Brahim, just to avoid any confusion. So if you are participating with us and you would like to receive the certificate, please put your name, your email address, and your institution in the chat section, which is where we're going to gather the information to prepare your certificate. Thanks so much, Brahim. The platform is yours, and I'll be back answering the questions after the demo. Thank you.
Thank you, Said. We'll try to be quick again for the demo. I'm sure you all know how to use a database in your search. So basically, how to use CABI. So either if you are from Saudi Arabia, you could go to the SDL. If you are from Egypt, you go to EKB. If you are from Tunisia, you go to CNUTS. If you are from, I don't know, eLearning in Turkey, you go to eLearning platform. Or if you are from AUB in Lebanon, you go to the AUB Digital Library. However, that will eventually take you to something, to our link, cabdirect.org. It's not CABI, it's cabdirect.org. The way you will be connecting, either you go via IP automatically or your library will give you remote access. As you can see, once you logged in here, you will see the databases that you have access to. So either if you have ebooks or you have compendium, any of the databases that your institution is subscribing to. Then you could be searching either directly to the platform or you could search directly from our main search box. As any other platform, you will be having a normal search or advanced search. So if I use on this one, I put plant and fire search, it will give me the results in our eJournal platform. So here we go. So easy. You've got huge results, 5 million results approximately. I've put it too long. It goes back to 1920. But if I'm only interested in the peak, which is maybe this one, so it will filter itself, and it reduces from 5 million to 700 something thousand articles from 215 to 219, which is the area I have selected. I could go beyond if I wanted to. And then if I want to filter further, I can filter by language, for example. So I go here and say I'm interested in the English, the Turkish, and possibly the French. And then I go down and say refine results. It will filter further my results, and it gives me more of filtered results. And if I am interested in the full text, you could see here it tells you open the full text. And then you will have access to the full text article that we're looking for. That is an English article, it seems. And it's quite similar to any other platform you'll be using. We have a lot of other filters here, as you can see. We've got topics, you've got organism description, publication title, your product, or any other links to PubMed or DPLA or anything that you, or USDA, any other platform you think is interesting. So if I go back to home and then go back to the products I search, and that's how to search a journal. I just wanted to show you how to search a compendium, and let me choose something called crop protection compendium, for example. So this is the article, it's in full text now, as you can see. And that is in Turkish, by the way. The abstract is in English, but the full text is in Turkish. So the crop protection compendium, and it's a platform with data sheets. And you could see the data sheets that we have gives you here the basic data sheets or full data sheet. So if I wanted to open this data sheet, for example, let me open a different web. Oh, sorry, it gives me, okay. So let me open it here. I need to enter my username and password again. Yeah. Give me a second, I'm just going to bring the password. So anyone of you could have this remote access if they ask their librarian, if they're subscribing to, then and few seconds, then we'll be logged in. And then you could have a look at we call them crop protection compendium, CPC. And this is a data sheet, like I was saying. So a data sheet, it gives you all the information, pictures, identification, symptoms, distribution table, risk, anything. So I took this as an example to show you. And then you could down and see all this description and information that you might need for your research or for your teaching. If I want to generate a report for my students, and I want them to only look into the pictures, and I click here, this arrow, and I want identification, I also want distribution, for example, and symptoms. And then it tells me here, gives me the option to generate a report, and then it gives me only what I have selected. And I can use this report for my teaching or my research if I wanted to. So I could go to the map, for example, and I could look and zoom in as well. I could see the distribution of this disease I have chosen. Right, top of the page. There's a nice thing also, we call it Horizon tool. We have a premium Horizon tool and we have a free that comes with the CPC. So just wanted to give you an example of how to search. It's really nice tool. So for example, if I select Algeria and then I say I am interested in plant pests in this country. So what's going to look? It's going to look for the neighboring country of Algeria that have diseases that are not existing in Algeria. So say Morocco, Tunisia, Niger, and Mali, for example, and say submit. If I wanted to select any another country, I can do from Africa, Asia. And what's going to give me all the diseases that are available in those countries, but not in Algeria yet. So Algerians can try to pretend and prevent their country from having those diseases. So this is a compendium where I have data sheets and have Horizon scanning tool. And the other final product which I wanted to show you, which is the CABI ebook. I'll just take this collection, for example. And it allows you to look and browse full textbooks. And there are different varieties. We've got agriculture, animal and veterinary, environmental sciences. We've got human health and nutrition, and we have leisure and tourism and plant sciences. So how to browse a book, you just either go to the book, search within the books, and then once you're in, you could see a specific chapter, or actually could view the whole book if you wish. So it takes some time. So I have this chapter which I would like to look at, chapter 4. If I want to add, or if I want to go to the full book. It takes a little bit of time, but it gives you the whole book here. However, you could search in the search box and say, here again, let's use the same plants and see what sort of results it can give us. So over 7,500, and then it tells you the books that have this. So I could look into this one, and then it gives me again the same thing. Either you view the chapter or by chapter. All the details here about the author, ISBN, all the details, and that's how to access the books. So basically, we have three main content databases: eJournal, like I showed you. We've got compendium, and we've got the ebooks. It's simple. You go to your library or institution and ask them for the access. So over to you, Saidi, if you'd like to answer all the questions.
Thank you so much, Brahim, for the very nice and brief overview of how to use CABI resources. Actually, we had some very nice and interesting questions that I will cover very quickly and very briefly too. One of them is asking about citing old research, primary research. The question is, what if the primary research is very old? Here, as we said, the key criteria is the relevance. We should not exclude old references just because they are old. If they are relevant, if they have significant contribution, we should not exclude them just because they are old. Again, we need to include up-to-date research, but we should be fair. We should not be in favor of something because it is new and decide against the old ones just because of that. Also, when the journals ask us to provide up-to-date references, they don't mean to ask us to exclude the old ones. What actually they're saying is make sure that when you cover the relevant research, you include all the relevant research up to the most up-to-date ones. They're not encouraging us to discredit the very old primary research. We have another question about how many articles we should cite, and again, this is something that we need to adhere to the guidelines about. There are guidelines for each journal. We should refer to the guidelines, and if we need to be selective, the main criteria is the relevance. And definitely we need to make sure that we're covering the entire range of relevant research. We should not exclude something that is relevant based upon any criterion other than the relevance. Some people were asking about the latex to be used as the template for writing. It's very good and very important too. And again, just check the journal's website. And there were a response to the same question that made me think that the question is about using the reference software on latex. And I think the question, the feedback was provided by one of our colleagues there. The last question that I would like to answer is, which of the software is most used? And it depends. Because some of these software are by subscription. Some universities subscribe to one of these reference software, and if you are conducting research in that university, that means all people around you are going to be using that software, and you will be expected to use it. That's why I started with the RefWorks when I was at NC State University. And then when I moved to Virginia Tech is using EndNote. So I had to switch to EndNote, and currently Mendeley is being offered here, and EndNote, but the online version. So now I switch between all of these depending on whom exactly I'm collaborating with on the manuscript. And believe me, it's very easy. Once you get the idea and you learn something very good. Then Brahim, I hear you. Thank you. So if you learn one of these software very well, you will be able to sail with any of them very easily, very quickly. So just pick whatever is suitable for the research team that you're currently working on. Learn it well, and then go with it. It's gonna be easy. There is a question about is there another session of this training? Yeah, this training consists of 3 sessions. The first one was last week about how to select the research point, how to conduct your research, and the motivations of international publishing, how to select the research point, and how to select the journal to focus on in terms of writing. And then this session for the detailed advices on how to write a well-written manuscript. And next session is going to be next week. It's going to be on submission, peer review, and the post-publication advertisement and publicity of the manuscript and how to meet and deliver all the objectives that you started with when you started the journey. So if you are with us today and you were not able to participate in the previous session, I don't know if Brahim, do you have any advice for our colleagues in this regard? Because we have more people this time comparing to the previous to the previous session. Do you have
thanks, Zain. For session 1, there will be another one like it. I need to check the dates and come back to you on it. Hang on. So if anyone missed last week's session, is going to be repeated, I think, next month. So follow us, and then we could you could come back again just to repeat session 1 and this one in the next series. Excuse me a few seconds, I'll give you
that. So basically, we're offering this training series again next month. We're gonna after the third session, we're gonna start a new series is focusing on writing grant proposals for getting funded. It's gonna be 4 sessions in a row. After those 4 sessions, we're gonna switch back to writing for international publication. We're gonna repeat this series again, all 3 sessions of this series again, and that's what Brahim is referring to. And yeah, go ahead, Brahim. Sorry.
Yeah. So it will be the research stage 20th of October. I can share with you my screen if you want, and anyone would like to copy what we're doing, it should be on our website. So navigation, it could be before actually. So we've done one 1st of September. Today, this one, manuscript writing. Next one is 15th of September, and then we finish this series. Then we're gonna do a different type, which is really interesting, and I encourage you to sign in for this. It will be how to write an agricultural grant proposal. So we'll have 4 steps as well. And then,
Brahim, I want to say a quick sentence here. Although we're using agricultural grant proposals as an example here, it provides advices, general advices that applies to any type of grant proposal. We're just using one type of grant proposal, one funding agencies as an example, and one call to make sure that we're covering all details in depth. Thank you.
Yeah, so, and then we'll come back again to do the same 3 sessions we did now. And the people who were here today, they don't have to come back again here. And then maybe if they come next week, they don't have to come back here. But this one, they can replace the session they missed, 20th of October. I can put now into the box, they can register. Here we go. So, sorry, I put it everyone. So here's the link for the 20th of October. You could come back and replace session 1. For 15th, next session is 15th of, yes, correct, 15th of September. But if who didn't come for session 1 last week, they can come back on the 20th of October and they can actually replace what they missed. So I'm running to another meeting. I would like to thank you very much for your time today. And I hope we can see you on the 15th.
Thanks so much, Brahim. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah. See you. Bye-bye.
See you all next week.